Hello, and welcome to the inaugural episode of In a Darkened Room. I'm Chris.
I'm Darren.
Thank you for joining us. We thought our very first episode would be another glimpse, a little window into who we are and what our tastes are. So we're going to list, each of us, our top 5 favorite artists of all time.
And we're going to try to guess a pre-list of what I think your top 5 would be, and you're going to guess what you think my top 5 would be. And we'll see how close we get. We've known each other a long time, so we'll see how accurate that is.
Yeah, make a little game out of it. I like it. All right, so let's get rolling.
All right, so my number 5 is a band that I've enjoyed my entire life. One of my first musical memories as a kid was riding around in a friend's parents' vehicle, and one of their songs was playing on the radio. It wasn't long after that I started hearing more and more songs that were very popular in the 70s. And I think one of the things that kind of turned me on to this band and attracted me to them was that they were very different, and the singer really stood out in a crowd. And so I think as a little kid, you notice little nuances about things, and I could pick his voice out in a lineup and be like, hey, that's that guy again. The older I've gotten, I'm honestly surprised their songs are so technical that I loved them so much as a kid, and as an adult, I love them even more.
I think I know who this is going to be.
All right. Well, my number 5 is Steely Dan, and the song that I heard as a young tyke was "Ricky, Don't Lose That Number." It's one of the very first songs I remember hearing on the radio, and all through the 70s, I love basically everything that they did. Like I said, he had a very identifiable voice. I think Walter Becker, and I'm talking about Donald Fagen, Walter Becker, his partner in crime, was an outrageously good guitar player, very underrated as a guitar player, great bass player. They were great songwriters. Their songs are very unique and different, and what can I say? I love them to this day, and they're my number 5. I'll never, ever stop listening to Steely Dan, and that is a fact. And I would say that, one other thing before we get too far into this, when you pick a list like this, it can kind of evolve over time. If we'd done this discussion 10 years ago, Steely Dan would have been on this list. I'm pretty sure if we do it 10 years from now, they'll still be on the list.
Right.
Some of these other artists, I'm not so sure about. I think most of them would have been and will be. But, your tastes change over time. Steely Dan is one of those bands that's always been in my life and always will be. They're my number 5.
Awesome. Yeah, and I actually guessed that correctly.
Did you get that right? Okay,
I did. So 1 point for me. Should we keep score?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
All right. So 1 point for me.
Okay.
All right. So my number 5 all-time favorite artist is well, actually, I don't want to reveal it yet. See if you got it right.
Number 5?
It is actually a 2-in-1.
Okay. I have a 2-in-1.
It's the group.
Yeah.
That the solo artist started in. I like them equally.
We're tied up.
You guessed it already, huh?
I think so.
Sting and the Police.
Sting and the Police.
Yes. And I put
here.
and I'm not picking 2, I'm not cheating, because really I'm picking Sting.
Yeah.
Sting is the talent that I really admire.
Sure.
I like all of the
Me
Police
too.
stuff, especially their hits, and I'm probably more of a fan of their hits as the Police. But Sting, I can listen to entire Sting albums and love them.
Right. Well, if I can interject this regarding the Police, I think the Police are one of those bands. I really do, and I love a lot of their deep cuts. But I do think their hits are their best songs. And,
Absolutely, yes.
And like there's other bands out here that their deep cuts I probably like more than their hits. But the Police, all of their hits are outstanding. I still enjoy hearing them to this day. But I'm with you. I think as a whole, I probably prefer the Sting solo albums over the Police.
Right. Yeah. And there's maybe just the one Sting, the one Police album that I can listen to beginning to end. It's because it was one of the first albums I ever bought. That was Synchronicity.
Oh wow! Even Mother? You don't fast forward through Mother?
I don't fast forward through Mother. I mean, that's an interesting track. It was experimental, and I appreciate it for what it was.
It's that British sense of humor.
But I'm not going to open up a The Police on Spotify and pick that song first. I'm not gonna do it.
Right. Good move.
Yeah. But I remember seeing Sting live, and this is kind of what catapulted him up into my list way back when. Seeing him live at Starwood Amphitheater.
Was I with you? Yeah.
Did we go together?
We went together.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So many concerts. I can't remember who went
time.
where. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic, and I love entire albums by him. Like I said, Nothing Like the Sun, I think, is definitely my favorite.
That's my favorite too.
I love the jazz rock fusion on that album. Little Wing, his version of Little Wing was just incredible, and that caused Little Wing to be one of my favorite all-time songs.
Yeah,
and it almost doesn't matter who does the song. It's like one of those songs that just transforms into any genre, whoever's doing it. Exactly. But Sting's version is my favorite version.
Wow.
It was just incredible. So yeah, Sting and the Police, my number 5.
All right. Moving right along, my number 4 is a band kind of similar to Steely Dan in the sense that I remember hearing all of their songs on the radio as a child. I loved every one of their hits. Mm-hmm. As I got older and kind of got more into music and understanding what goes into songwriting and guitar playing and all that, it made me love them even more. And my number 4 is the very underrated Jeff Lynne and his band, the Electric Light Orchestra.
Hey, I got another one right.
Are you serious? Okay, good. Well, you get a bozo button. ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, some of my favorite musical moments ever. And they're one of those bands, I never tire of even their hits. I can listen to them anytime. I really love all of I think they're in the 70s, their output of albums all in a row. When you started with El Dorado, Face the Music, A New World Record, Out of the Blue, Discovery, all of those, Time, just all in a row. Just, I think it's essential listening. Like I say, Jeff Lynne is just an incredible songwriter. Yeah. I saw him live within the last year or two, and the man was like 73 years old. He still sounded perfect.
Yeah.
And, he went on, he's kind of more well-known as a producer. He went on to produce Tom Petty and the Traveling Wilburys and Roy Orbison and all that.
Right.
And, but I really think ELO is a criminally underrated band. Yeah. And I will, once again, I'm not sure they would have been on my list 10 years ago, even though I've always loved them. They are now. And
I remember as a kid, hearing them. That's probably some of my earliest memories of music. Just being fascinated with the fact that there was orchestration behind the music.
Yes, and you'll see
I really paid attention to that.
Right.
At a young age.
And me too. And we'll see as we go along. I've always liked that in music. I like big orchestrated things and the strings and but they had a heavier side too. There's a track on one of their albums. I think Tommy Bolin even played on a couple of songs by them that are pretty much, there's a song called Poker that's basically a metal song. It's a metal riff,
Yeah.
And so they covered a lot of ground musically, and I like that. It makes it where you can listen to them longer. And like I say, I just think they're very underrated. Great band. ELO's my number 4. And you got that right. So you're holding a slight edge, 2-1 right now.
2-1 right now. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So moving on to my number 4.
Okay.
This band, saw them live. I think you were with me at this concert as well.
What year?
Oh gosh, what year was that? When did that album come out? I guess it was in the 2000s.
I think I'm gonna get it right.
I can't remember. They opened for Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, you're getting there. I really admire the lead singer of this band. I actually got to meet him in person, and he's just as genuine and cool person.
You just threw me a curve,
as you would expect.
I don't think I'm going to get this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just as cool of a person as you would expect. You've seen him interviewed, and seen this, videos of him in public and all.
Right.
He's really that way. He's a genuine person. Mr. Dave Grohl, the Foo Fighters.
I didn't pick that one. I thought you were going to pick something else. I missed that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well,
but hey, we did see them together.
We did indeed.
I agree with everything that you said about Dave Grohl. I think he's a genius.
Yep.
One of the things I respect is just how much respect he has for the artists and music that came before him. I think it's very cool.
Absolutely,
And,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their talent, the whole band's talent, and whatever incarnation, they've had members come and go.
Right.
But I know at that concert, they had Peter Frampton come up on stage.
I remember. Yep.
Yes, Peter Frampton's a local boy here to Nashville where we live.
Right.
And they did Show Me the Way.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away at how close to the original recording of that song it sounded.
Great.
It's like, holy crap, they can play this metal rock out stuff.
Yeah.
And then do this, softer rock stuff,
Yeah.
and it sounded perfect.
And that's one of the things that about Dave is he doesn't care about genre. He doesn't care about what people think about. So if he likes a song or an artist, he'll play it. He doesn't care where it came from or when it came out. Or
You're exactly right.
I remember seeing him play songs. I'm just off the top of my head. I've seen him play "Baby Hold On" by Eddie Money.
Yeah,
he's played with Rick Astley. He's played with Rick Springfield.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really cool. I think he's got the right attitude about music in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
No restrictions, and that's a great choice. And man, I should have got that one, but I have to admit I missed it.
All right. Well, we'll see how we do the rest of the way.
Okay.
So go ahead. Number 3 for you.
Number 3 for me is a band that, in a way, is kind of similar to ELO, kind of cut from the same cloth as far as being influenced by the Beatles. I rate this band very high for several reasons. I love all their albums. I love the majority of their songs, at least, somewhat. And I think it's pretty cool that they were just as influential on the glam metal area of music as they were grunge. I know
who this is.
I think they were the closest thing to the Beatles that the 70s had to offer. And I'm talking about the one, the only Cheap Trick.
I got that one too.
Yeah.
That's 3.
You're 3 for 3. Okay. Well, Robin Zander, I think, is a phenomenal singer. There's nothing that the man can't sing. Rick Nielsen said that one of the reasons he stole Rick from another band, or Robin from another band, is he had heard him playing cover songs. He's like, you would close your eyes if he was singing Bee Gees, it sounded just like it. If he was singing a Paul McCartney song, it sounded just like it. John Lennon, he was the man of 1,000 voices.
Yeah.
Rick wrote the majority, the little goofy guy in Cheap Trick wrote the majority of their songs. Monster guitar player, monster songwriter. I think the collective of all the things that they did, it just worked. You had the 2 good-looking guys out front, and Robin and Tom Peterson, and then you had the drummer who looked like the chain-smoking, bookkeeping drummer in the background, and Rick Nielsen, who looked like a Bowery Boys reject. But something about it all worked,
Yeah.
And the bottom line is they had great songs, and songs that stand the test of time. This is a band, like I say, 10 years ago, they would have been on this list for me. And I think going forward 10 years from now, they'll be on this list. Cheap Trick, I love them. That's my number 3.
Awesome. All right. So, let's see if you get this next one here.
Okay.
This band, one thing that you're going to learn about me if you watch in, future episodes of this channel, I'm a really big fan of the dark and the moody and the melancholy, and maybe the kind of depressing, but I really, really love that kind of stuff. And this band, I remember when we were working at the college radio station, this kid brought in their new CD at the time, and he played it, and I was listening to it. I'm like, man, I really, really love this. And I had actually heard of them just like a year before, because they had a song on the Pump Up the Volume soundtrack, the Christian Slater movie
this one.
about the pirate radio station.
Great movie. And did we see this band together live?
We did. We saw them together live down in Atlanta.
Yep.
Concrete Blonde.
I got it. It's on my list right here.
Fantastic. Bloodletting is probably one of my all-time favorite albums.
It's a masterpiece. It really is.
It really is, beginning to end. And man, what a great album cover too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such an awesome cover.
And down the road, we'll probably do. I'm sure we'll do a favorite albums category or something like that.
Absolutely, and that will probably be included for me. So little foreshadowing there.
Great choice.
So I heard it, up at that radio station, and I went out almost immediately and bought all their previous albums.
Yeah.
And so there's so many songs I love by them, and they have a best of called Recollection. And man, did they nail it on that collection.
Yeah.
It was like pretty much all the songs from all those albums that I'd listened to that were my favorites were on that collection. So
nice.
Yeah, if you ever want to check out Concrete Blonde and just get their best overall stuff, Recollection.
Great place to start.
Is a great place to start, yes.
Absolutely. Well, that is a fine choice, my friend. And yes, I got it right. You're still holding a slim 3-2 advantage. We're
Yes,
getting
indeed.
into the fourth quarter here.
All right.
All right. Are we ready for my number 2?
Yeah, number 2.
Okay. My number 2. It's not number 2.
Not a number 2.
Not a number 2. I love this band, and I will say this. I probably don't listen to this band as much as I once did. At one point in time, they were my life. I loved this band. I worshipped them. I really got into them.
Oh, man.
From all their catalog.
See, I know who this is,
Yeah.
but you're throwing me a curve here. I'm like, I don't know who your number 1 is now.
Well, you're going to get this one right for sure.
Okay.
My number 2 is Rush, a band that I've always admired for a variety of reasons, for their ability to play, their ability and unwillingness to compromise. I thought their music was very integral. They did it their way. Every album was deeper, darker, successful. And I think they were on a really good mission to just try to grow.
I see what you did there.
Did you like that? Mission's my all-time favorite Rush song too, by the way. But I just love just the dedication that they had to music, and they've got a vast catalog that I'm sure we'll explore in a subsequent episode.
Absolutely.
Down the road. But it's a band that made me get really serious about music, not only wanting to play, but just from an appreciation standpoint. Every time they released something, I had to get it the first day.
Yeah.
And it kind of started that whole thing. And then I remember I would get a record like Power Windows, and I'd be so excited when it came out, and I'd listen to it and go, I wonder what the next one's going to sound like. So
already wanting more.
Always wanting more.
Yep.
Neil Peart, rest in peace. My God, that was such a tragic loss for the music industry. But I'll always
But man,
love
what a way to go out. I mean, he went out the right way. Did that final tour.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
And definitely they would have made my list 10 years ago. They will probably make it 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I had to put them on here really high up just because of the amount of time I had invested in them and listening to them. They would have been my number 1 10 years ago, but they're still high up on the list. Number 1 in my heart. Rush is my number 2.
Very cool. Well, that's another one right for me. So my number 2. This is probably on your list, because my top 2 are, have pretty much never changed over the years, up until I knew about this number 2 artist. The greatest singer, songwriter, vocalist that I've ever heard in my life, and a lot of people have not heard of in their life. I mean, I mentioned that, he's like my favorite singer, songwriter, and everyone's like, who? Like, who's she?
Who is she? Yep, I've had that too.
Because his first name is Angie Aparo.
Yeah, great choice.
Yeah. I've seen Angie perform live over 100 times. I don't even know the exact number. But I do remember when I first heard him. It was at the music store we were working at, the secondhand CD buy-sell place.
Yep.
We got a sampler in of like all new modern rock tracks, and it was like track 12 or 13, and I was doing my thing inside the store, and when his song came on, Spaceship, I like almost stopped in my tracks. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah,
it sounded so, it was electronic, but also sounded so organic.
Right.
And I thought,
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah. It's like,
very airy.
It's like, I don't think at that point in my life, I'd never really heard that before.
Yeah.
To that degree. You know, it was just deep.
And then his voice, my God.
Oh, his voice, yeah.
Incredible singer.
That's part of the organic part, you know, that and the acoustic guitars. But yeah, I mentioned to you, like, dude, you got to hear this song.
And if that weren't enough, we ate with him at Waffle House before, too.
Oh, yeah, we have indeed.
I'm sure that was a highlight of his life.
You found a promotional CD of the American that song was on.
Yeah.
And you noticed that Matt Serletic produced it.
Right.
Who also got such a great sound out of Matchbox 20.
Collective Soul.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So the whole album, The American, is fantastic. It's very, it's a very produced album, but his other stuff, his earlier stuff, as I went back to discover, was very much rooted in the stripped down, almost the Neil Young kind of style.
Which he's very influenced by that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he admits as much as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, he can do it all. This man can sing any style that you throw at him.
Right.
He could do a country song. He could do a heavy metal song. It doesn't matter. And he's got the vocal range to pull it off.
And I'll say this, he didn't make my top 5 favorite artists ever. Mm-hmm. If we were doing a, which once again, we'll probably get to eventually, favorite albums ever, The American for me would definitely be on there. And I agree with everything that you said about Angie. He's also a great guy.
He is.
Just a masterful writer.
Shout out to Angie.
Angie, what's up? Hope you see this.
Yeah.
Well deserved. All right, it's time for numero uno. I believe you're 4 for 4. Let's see
I am 4 for 4,
see if I can knock you off track with this one.
Okay,
all right, so my number 1.
I have a wild card, and I'm kind of expecting this to be it. So.
Okay, well, you may have gotten it. Well, my number 1 artist is the very first artist that I ever paid attention to as a kid. If you watched our episode about what we do here on the channel, my mom and father were both country artists, and they loved him. And my mom introduced me to a record that he came out with in 1975 that I literally played to death. I probably played that vinyl record more than anything ever in my life.
Dude, I'm 5 for 5 over here.
Okay. I'm talking about Glen Campbell, the mighty, the amazing Glen Campbell. And Glen, for me, had kind of an interesting history. As a kid, I wore him out. Albums like Wichita Lineman, Galveston, Rhinestone Cowboy. My parents had them. I played them to death. As I got older and I got into more genres of music, heavy metal, came into my life, more rock and guitar oriented stuff, the stuff that I kind of grew up listening to, I kind of left that behind for a few years. But like we do a lot of times in life, I eventually came full circle, and I started listening to Glen again several years ago, and went back and bought all of his stuff on every format that there is, and I have to rate him as my all-time favorite artist simply based on this. He recorded 60 studio albums in his lifetime. 60.
Machine.
A total machine.
Yeah.
A workaholic. Over 600 songs. I easily love, and I do mean love, at least 200 of his songs. Like, love them. And he's the only artist, as far as I can say that has that many songs that I love. I think he was just a masterful musician.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize all the stuff that he played on in the 60s. He played on 600 albums. That you heard that right, in 1 year, one time. As a studio musician, he's a masterful guitar player, incredible vocalist, has a vast catalog. We'll probably do a whole show about him at some point.
Absolutely, yeah.
Glen Campbell is my number 1, and he'll probably stay there for life for me. And
nice.
You got that one too.
I got that one right. Yeah,
I guess
that was my wild card because I wasn't sure if he was your number 1.
Yeah.
But I know you've been obsessing over him recently quite a bit.
Yes.
And you've played a lot of stuff for me, and I'm like, holy crap! I didn't realize this guy had the talent that he had. I just had no idea, and a lot of people don't.
And I want to shout out too. I got a really good friend named Tim Plushaw, who is a he's the number 1 Glen. He makes me look like a novice. He's the number 1 Glen Campbell fan in the world.
Yes,
he's got a lot of cool Facebook groups that are Glen Campbell related. So check him out. Tim Plushaw, very good friend. We'll have him on the show at some point too. He's a great guy.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Hope we do.
Yep.
Right.
All right, so it's up for your number one.
My number
and
one.
I know I got this.
I know you got it. There's no denying it. This is since high school. They've never gotten old on me. They've never left my number one spot. I remember a friend of mine in high school, shout out to Todd, handed me a cassette of The Wall. Now, I had heard Pink Floyd before, you know. Oh, by the way, it's Pink Floyd.
Check that off here. Yep.
Yeah. You know, growing up, I'd heard Another Brick in the Wall. I'd heard Money. At the time, MTV was even playing their latest video, Learning to Fly, from A Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Yeah.
But, so I was familiar with them. But he handed me The Wall and said, dude, you got to listen to this. So I went home, I put headphones on, and it was a cassette, so it was the headphones out of my boombox. Just lie down in my bed and listened, and that was it.
Wow.
It was over.
Yeah.
I was amazed at the production, the concept album, just the theme of it, and it seemed like, you know, at the time in my life, I really related to it.
Right.
Like, really heavily.
The darkness of it and the depth of it. And
absolutely, yes.
And a lot of orchestrated stuff that we mentioned earlier.
Yes, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like during Comfortably Numb, you know, the strings in that are just, you know, I wouldn't say that they're overpowering. They're not incredibly intricate, but they add to the mood of the song.
Right.
And that's one thing that Pink Floyd has always been masters is finding the mood and not overdoing it. They let the music breathe, but you'd never get bored with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like less is more is with them, and they're masters at it. Dark Side of the Moon, of course, was their pinnacle, and I love them from the time they formed in 1967. I like Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Yeah,
I really do. I like it for what it is.
Yeah.
I can't pick a favorite album from them.
Right.
Because there's things about like Animals that I love that, like, well, maybe this is kind of my favorite. I kind of like the sound of this, but there's for different reasons I like Wish You Were Here, and I can't compare one over the other.
Well, once again, a band very similar to Rush in this sense. They really try to do something different every time out.
Absolutely,
and I think that was really important. And same with a lot of these bands that I like. You know, Steely Dan did that. They did something different every time out.
Yeah.
Same with ELO. Same with Cheap Trick. Rush, Cheap Trick, you know, they changed their producers up to try to get different sounds and stuff, and to not get stale. Glen Campbell did the whole orchestrated thing too. So we both like a lot of music with a lot of depth and orchestration. So that's one similarity with the stuff that we both listen to.
Yeah, and we're not stuck in just one genre, as you notice. You know, you've got the Glen Campbell, you've got the Rush, you've got the Steely Dan, and I've got, you know, Pink Floyd, the Police, and the Stings. But also Foo Fighters and Concrete Blonde. So, you know, that's you know, we're not stuck in one genre here. We like almost everything.
Yeah, and we're going, this is all-time favorite artist, and I put a lot of stock on how much I had time invested in some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like Rush, like I mentioned, I don't listen to them nearly as much as I once did. I don't know if you listen to Pink Floyd nearly as much as you once did.
Yeah.
But you know, they're in our soul, in our DNA.
Yeah.
We've heard them so much. And these are all artists, I don't know, I can't speak for you, I can speak for me, that I could pretty much listen to these and instantly go back in time. And, you know, Glen Campbell, for instance, when I listen to Glen Campbell, you know, I actually I get out of whatever I'm in life and I'm into that music.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all of these artists are very important to me. And I want to mention a couple of honorable mentions. You can too. I didn't have anything that you know, R&B, soul oriented here, and I love a lot of that stuff. Stevie Wonder would be, if this was expanded to a top 10, Stevie Wonder would be in there for me.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind and Fire definitely would be in there for me. So this is, you know, it's very difficult to narrow it down to 5 artists.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I would have Toad the Wet Sprocket, you know, probably in my top 10.
Yeah.
You know, bands like that. So, yeah, same thing.
Yeah. All right. This has been fun. Feel free.
And I believe scores 5-4, right?
You won this round. You did. So
who did you guess that I would say that I did not?
I had U2 down.
U2?
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, I do really, really love them, but I don't think they'd even be in my top 10.
Okay. Okay.
That's not a criticism, you know.
No, not at all.
But yeah, I've loved their body of work as well. So that's interesting. You too, you thought would be on there.
Yeah, and be sure to tell us what your top 5 artists of all time is in the comments section. Hopefully, we'll get the discussion going. This has been fun, man. I really enjoyed this, and hopefully, it's given people a little perspective into each of us and our history and kind of what we like. So some of you may be like, I'm a Darren guy, or I'm a Chris guy, or girl, or gal. So anyway, we want to hear from you as we grow. So.
Absolutely, you can hit us up in the comments below, or hit us up on the social medias.
Thanks for watching this episode of In a Darkened Room. You can find the link to this episode's companion Spotify playlist in the description. Darren and Chris welcome your comments. You can leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Follow In a Darkened Room on Twitter to receive updates and submit your ideas for what we should discuss in upcoming episodes. Darren and Chris are also on Instagram, so give them a follow there as well. All of these links can be found in the description below. While you're there, be sure to click subscribe and ring the bell.
All right, one thing that we're going to try to do every episode is we're going to do a special little trivia thing or a random topic.
Right.
And we're going to start out with our melted record bowl. Darren, would you draw a random topic there and we will discuss?
It's just going to be a quick take, right?
Just a quick take, yeah, maybe a minute.
All right. So you go first. This is the topic. The first obscure album that you loved.
Oh, wow. Let's see. So that had to have been in the 80s. That's a tough one.
Very tough.
Let me think on that. Do you have one in mind?
I do have one. My first obscure album that I absolutely love from start to finish that nobody knew about, hardly anybody knows about it to this day, is a band called Aviator from 1986. RCA Records, produced my good friend Neil Kernan. Yeah. I love that band. Should have been huge. It was right at the time of Bon Jovi and Whitesnake and all that.
Yeah.
They made the better album. I can tell you that for sure. Great songs, very pop-oriented, hard rock, and criminally overlooked, man. Nobody heard it, but it was a great record, and I love it to this day.
Very, very cool. All right, so yeah, I've given it some thought, and I think that mine was obscure at the time.
Gotcha.
They came on to become just a super group eventually. But it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers' Mother's Milk.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people hadn't heard of them at all. I actually got introduced to the Red Hot Chili Peppers by my high school friend, Harper.
Harper, I remember Harper.
So, yeah, he played me a couple tracks, and I went right out and bought the CD. And this is before they started playing videos from them on
right.
MTV in heavy rotation. Love that album beginning to end. So, yeah, I guess that would be my pick.
All right. Well, this has been fun. This would be an ongoing thing that we do at the end of every episode, just a little quick take just for fun. Because you never know what we're going to draw out of that bowl right there, man.
Yeah. No idea what's in there either, so.
Exactly. All right, well, this has been fun, man.
This has been great. I really appreciate you guys playing along with us, and we'll see you again on the next video.
Subscribe.
Take care.